Hey, hi there, everyone. So, as mentioned, just on my Instagram reel that I just shared, today is the 30th of November, last day of the month of November. And yeah, wanted to get back to talking about the NBA, especially now under this new portal, Ubuntu Basketball. And I wanted to make it something very interesting, out of the ordinary, so to say. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of like give my take on what's been happening in the NBA, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy it and keep on chiming in. And please do leave your comments, your notes, your thoughts on this, and feel free to check in and subscribe on our YouTube channel of Ubuntu Basketball. So, yeah, with that said, gonna dive in on the deep end straight away. So yeah, end of the month of November. Roughly about 2021 games played throughout the league by most teams, and interestingly enough, so yeah, the Celtics doing amazingly well. Having played 21 games, won 17, and just lost only four, and are in amazing form so far. They've been winning the last four games with, let's say, minimal glitches going in. They've been scoring about 121 points a game so far, and doing extremely well on 3-point shooting range, just a little bit above 40% on a per game basis. And yeah, I mean, I think they are really already clicking and are in mid-season mode, so to say. To be honest, I mean, I think the way that the entire, let's say, organization, the players group are right now in that mode is insanely good. And to be honest, I mean, I think the fact that they're even ranked so highly across all fields, offensively speaking, and I mean, they're like, I mean, like minimally turning the ball over right now. They are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like among the top three teams in minimal turnovers across the league. So doing crazy, crazy good. Followed by the Bucks and then Suns, Nuggets, and Cavaliers so far. Uh, yeah, even thinking about it is insane. But I mean, the Cavs without LeBron and the fact that Los Angeles are literally in a slump. I mean, down 25th in the league right now and having a hard time to, let's say, get to a better spot. But I mean, obviously, stating the obvious is one thing. But yeah, yeah, putting all that aside a little bit. So, wanted to quickly just chime in on this whole circumstance with Carl Anthony Towns. Um, Pretty sad to see a guy like him get injured, to be honest. And I mean, he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks from official news. But I mean, obviously, with these level of strains coming around the first quarter of the league, I mean, I don't see it as an unusual circumstance with so many back-to-back games and then the pace and the travel involved. It's pretty usual to see this from NBA players. However, I mean, that again, this whole circumstance of load management doesn't really make sense when you have such players that are basically getting injured. So, I mean, looking at the whole Two Towers project that the Minnesota Timberwolves were trying to establish with Gobert and Cat, I don't think it's really been working in their favor, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, when you look at the whole uh, circumstance where they're trying to captivate um, a crowd, which is, I mean, pretty much constantly giving you skepticism in an environment where, let's say, solid basketball is trying to be held up, not really very easy. But again, I mean, definitely don't want to take away from the fact that Carl Anthony Towns is an amazing player, and the Minnesota Timberwolves have an amazing organization. However, I mean, it's also extremely tough. I mean, um, I just wish him the best with the injury and hope that he recovers in the best possible way. I mean, they've got an amazing bunch of players when come to think of it. I mean, players from Anthony Edwards to D'Angelo Russell to Nathan Knight, even like guys like Luka Garza that are just kind of pitching it here and there, pretty much. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, guys like Luka Garza. I mean, they really are amazing players. Even though he's kind of like played minimal minutes across the season so far. I mean, I think he's played in like about 5 to 8 games across the season, but still, I mean, great guy, and roundabout most probably going between the Timberwolves and the Iowa Wolves G League team. Still love seeing him, and I mean, definitely looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him. Hopefully, it might actually be a spoiler to looking into a guy like Luka Garza. I mean, he is a very interesting character that could even make an amazing jump on to the European scene. Spoiler again, he might be somebody that I might look into in terms of posting up kind of like a spotlight player insight video on very soon. Moving on, the Mavs are in a very different state. I mean, I was expecting them to be one of the top 5 teams by, let's say, the end of the first quarter of the season. Right now, the way things are with the Mavs, I mean, I definitely think that Luka is definitely shouldering again a lot of things at this point. And hats off to him. I mean, to be honest, I mean the guy plays insanely good, and I mean it's not an easy thing to be able to carry an organization like the Mavs, and it always makes me think of. I mean, like recently I saw that Facundo Campazzo was let go by the Mavs organization, obviously since last season, and the circumstances have been changing over there. I think that's been effective. And yeah, obviously, very recently, the Kemba Walker signing, the Mavs again, that's also in a point, I think, very fitting to say. They just won against the Warriors 116 to 113 in a very tightly played game. And yeah, I mean, goes to show you. I mean, these guys, like Luka, like Steph Curry, they basically flat out do their best for their ball club, and then try to get things going on a very whole other level. One thing that did strike me about the game, though, um, there were a total of about 15 3-point shots made by the Mavs versus 11 by the Warriors. Uh, very interesting circumstance. The percentages. So the 3-point field goal percentage for the Mavs was above 34%, whereas the Warriors only just shy above 25%. So I mean, goes to show you again. I mean, the level of play basically being this shot, and then the number of assists obviously also do make a huge difference. I mean, the Mavs only had about 21 assists for that game, and then the Warriors had like around about 26, 27 assists, if I hadn't miscounted it. But again, also very key. Obviously, I mention this all the time. Turnovers are, let's say, to me, the most critical mistake you can't come back from. And yeah, the Mavs had, let's say, a lot less mistakes in the turnover area. They only had about 14 turnovers for the game last night, and then versus the Warriors, they had about 18 turnovers. And those critical 4 turnovers they had extra in comparison to the Mavs were pretty much at the end of the game. I think that made the difference for sure. Um, Moving along, the Pelicans and how they are right now doing is a hot topic that I've been hearing from a lot of the people that I've been talking in the NBA. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by anything when it comes to NBA standards. The fact that they come in with having won 12 games and just lost 8 out of 20 games played so far, I think it's really great to see how well they're doing. I think CJ McCollum's finally going to try to get to that pace of how well he's establishing himself to be an all-rounded player, and definitely going to try to, let's say, be more productive with how he's playing on both ends of the court. Um, to be honest, I mean, he's not like one of the current top 5 players of the league. I mean, Doncic, Embiid, Curry, SGA, and then Antetokounmpo. So I mean, these are the, let's say, top 5 players that I wouldn't necessarily look at in terms of how they are performing offensively in terms of points scored and let's say other areas. But I mean, to that effect, I think CJ McCollum is really getting up there, and I like the fact that he's really gathering the Pelicans up to be potentially pushing the top 5 teams to where they are, and how that's really turning out to be a circumstance, so to say. So great to see that for sure. Uh, I wouldn't be me if I didn't really touch on the Knicks. So here's a very short take on the Knicks. Currently, obviously, they are in 20th spot, so they just won about 10 games out of 21. And I'll be honest, I mean, nothing, again, amazingly surprising about what's really happening within the Knicks organization. I think Julius Randle's definitely outdoing himself, and he's really shouldering a lot. But Brunson, on the other hand, Robinson, Barrett, and Sims, they're really kind of pretty much getting into the gear where they are in, let's say, mid-season level play at this point. And yeah, I mean, putting all these different factors with the Knicks organization into perspective, I mean, the player group and the, let's say, player development structure of the Knicks is, let's say, changing up a lot. I think they're improving, especially from the start of this season, from what I've seen and understood from my talks with people inside the organization. Been doing really amazingly great things. And just like even last night's game, I mean, they won with a 30-point difference against the Pistons. I mean, okay, dead last Pistons within the league, but still, I mean, the fact that the Knicks actually scored 140 points, I think it is, let's say, some level of okayish circumstance for their, let's say, situation. I mean, the fact that they are kind of like middle to, let's say, the end of the second part of the league. So I mean, that's okayish, I'd say. Um, I definitely like to touch up on one thing. I think the fact that the Knicks should actually be looking into acquiring a player, and it should be potentially a star. I mean, obviously, it's always the same circumstance with them, and I think it could be a player that potentially has that mid-range contract that they could most probably either go through towards the next season or seasons in this case, and try to get something out of. But yeah, I think that'll be pretty much kind of like something to look forward to in the coming time. On the other side of New York, Brooklyn is entirely, if you ask me, a distracted circumstance. I mean, the whole situation right now with Simmons trying to make this thing work within the Nets organization. more, let's say, publicly aware of situation that Kyrie Irving has been in. They've been 11-11 at the fact that we're on the 30th of November. They played 22 games, and I mean, KD is, let's say, I think the only potential positive note that I see from the Nets organization. Uh, Again, I'm not going to take away from the fact that you have this amazing bunch of players that actually are within that structure. But I mean, I would expect a little bit more, let's say, guidance by Seth Curry, even from Royce O'Neal, to be honest. I mean, these guys are actually some of the top uh, minute taking players for their organization. However, I think they can definitely be much more vocal and get the team to a better circumstance if they were to pick their paces up. And yeah, I mean, another note maybe Yuta Wanatabe, um, great player from Japan, to be honest. And I think the fact that within just about 14 games this season, this kid's been flat out doing an amazing job from the 3-point line, and he's already at about 57% 3-point shooting. I mean, on just that sheer fact alone, I think this kid shows you how much of the international potential you can get out of a player. And on top of everything else, crazy fact, a lot of people might know this, but for those that actually don't, amazing left-handed player. So, I mean, you never disregard a lefty that's above, let's say, the 2 meter mark. I'm not going to go into the feet meter circumstance. In my mind, at least, that's something I didn't want to get into. But he's above 2 meters. So I mean, and he's a lefty, and he's an international player on top of everything else. So I really see this as, let's say, the three key elements for how well he's actually shooting within his game. Amazing active player. So definitely, if you want to keep eyes on Utah, do so. He will definitely not disappoint. Um, yeah, I want to definitely get into a little bit of power ranking thoughts that I have. So, to me, strength of schedule is something that I've been always thinking of, especially when I think about the NBA. The up and coming week, for what I see, Detroit, Houston, and Chicago have got the toughest schedules concerning the whole home and away game stretches that they're going to be playing. I think Milwaukee, Indiana, and Phoenix have it a little bit more easier. And again, I'm basing my strength of schedule circumstance, let's say, on the whole basis of how should I put this? I mean, the home and away game case that I normally would see. Shout out to some of strength of the schedule crazy people that are out there that actually do look into that stuff a lot more closer. But I mean, I keep my stuff, let's say, more of to the basic point. So yeah, definitely that's something I wanted to pass along. And obviously, again, I mean, Boston, number one in terms of power ranking. I think they are not distracted at all about what's really going on in the league. They're just taking care of business. 17-4 circumstance right now, and they're just kind of booming along. On the other hand, I think it's also worthwhile mentioning that when you have players like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry on a roster where Golden State are literally also split right now. So I mean, they're 11-11. They played plus 20 games already, and even though they just last night lost to the Mavs, I think they're going to be on the up and up for the coming week. And always fun to be able to watch a team like Golden State and obviously try to understand how they strategize and go through their weekly games. So for sure keeping an eye on that. And yeah, I think this was my, let's say, first take on looking at the league so far. And I basically wanted to kind of give you, let's say, an idea of what I'm looking to get into. I mean, so it'll be kind of like hopefully questions that I'm pondering on and thoughts that I basically have from various, let's say, people that I follow across the league and everything. And obviously, I mean, if there are any kind of questions that you guys have out there that you want to pass along for me to really look into, be more than happy to share my thoughts on it. Again, what I will say, please make sure to look into Ubuntu basketball and to the NBA talk for sure. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Ubuntu basketball. And yeah, for any added details or insights, feel free to have a look at the blog post that we have on the website. And yeah, chime in. I'd always love to hear back from anybody that has insight that they might want to pass along. And yeah, I'd be happy to share my very own with you guys all. Thanks so much, and looking forward to the next round.